Inflation is terrorizing families across this country, and it was let out of its cage by this administration and this president. Inflation was starting to take off long before Vladimir Putin, the genocidal monster, invaded Ukraine and started slaughtering Ukrainians. It is a flat-out lie to blame that war on inflation, when the Democrats were spending like drunken Marxists. Go.
Current polling shows 83% of Americans describe the current state of the economy as poor. This comes alongside President Biden's approval numbers continuing to drop, approaching the midterms in November. Joining us now is Frank Luntz, pollster and political analyst. And in your long career, Frank, we've seen some, I guess, other periods where inflation finally rears its ugly head, but it's been a long time, but few things really get the juices flowing, like seeing a grocery bill or a gas bill and just going, whoa. I mean, that really is, it affects everyone, and it's visceral, I think. Are you seeing that in polling?
Yes, we are. And the tragedy is that we've tried to explain this to the Biden administration because they're the ones that need to know, and they've refused the presentation. So on your show, I'm going to tell you what I would have told them if they had only listened. We are 13 days away from an absolute explosion on inflation. There are 3 holidays, there are 3 moments when Americans take to the roads and when Americans buy more food than at any other time of the year. Christmas, Thanksgiving, and the 4th of July weekend. And everyone's going to be filling up their car 13 days from now, and they can't put $40 or $50 in their tank. They actually have to fill it up, and that's when the explosion hits. They can't just buy 80% of what they want. They have to fill their shopping carts for the barbecues and the cookouts. And 13 days from now, the American people are going to come face to face with these higher prices and face to face with the fact that they can't afford it. You have to go back to 2009, 13 years ago, to find a time when these economic numbers are as bad as they are today. And the difference is that back then it affected roughly 60% of the population. Now, with inflation, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter how much you make, you're impacted by it. And that impact will be felt shortly. And finally, Donald Trump misidentified the stock market as being the aspect of the American economy that people related to when they decided whether things were good or bad. Joe Biden is misidentifying jobs. Right now, you only have a tiny percentage of Americans that feel in any way insecure or unaffected. But inflation touches everyone everywhere. And unless he gets this inflation under control, where people are not exasperated and are not furious and anxious and angry, unless he does something immediately, this is going to affect the midterms. This is already affecting his popularity. And quite frankly, Joe Biden is the most unpopular president at this moment in his term since Jimmy Carter. You'd have to go back to 1978 for the last time a president had ratings this low.
When you're conducting polls, and I'm sure you're asking not just how is inflation affecting you and how important it is, but you must ask for who do you think caused it? Who do you think is responsible? What do you get? The Putin price hike. How many people buy into that? I guess they might say maybe part of it is that, but how many think that that's the main reason that we're in this situation?
And that's the right question to ask for a political impact. And a significant percentage, about a third, blame the war in Ukraine for what's happening, although we're not even talking about the shortages. Right now, you can get food, but it's really expensive. With what we know is going to come out of Ukraine in the months to follow, we're not even going to be able to get the food by the time we go into the early fall. And again, I don't think the Biden administration is afraid of the political impact, so they're downplaying the personal impact. And the truth is they should be candid. The other thing that people blame, about 25%, are corporations for taking the opportunity for charging too much. And again, the Biden administration is trying to blame ExxonMobil and companies like that for the reason why gas prices are so high. The key is not who they blame. The fundamental key is who they think is trying to solve it. And this is where the administration comes up short. It was the biggest mistake, and I'm a language person. And that word that they used again and again for the first couple months, that this is only transitory, there are millions of people, literally millions, who now know what that word means and now blame the administration for not doing more. So looking backward, they're not necessarily blamed for having ignored it or for having not done enough. But looking forward, they're absolutely held responsible for why this problem is getting worse and worse. And mark my words, 13 days from now is when it's going to hit its peak. Right now, 1/3 of Americans believe inflation is the number one issue. I believe that's going to climb to 40% in the weeks to follow.
And he actually understates it, because it's now at about, I think it was 41% in the Fox poll earlier this week. And it's by far the highest issue that concerns the American people, followed by crime and immigration. January 6th isn't even on the table. So people see this and they feel this. It affects their everyday lives. And you know, the thing is, this is totally predictable, utterly predictable. Now, we've talked about this a lot. We've talked about it for a long time. He's right about this, that right now you can get most food. It's very expensive, but we're going to hit a wall at some point where some foods you're not going to get. Or there are going to be shortages and runs on the particular type of food. And this is all because of the war on energy. The war on energy has undermined everything, whether it's fertilizer prices, whether it's the price of running a tractor, a harvesting machine, trucks. There's a report out today that truckers are warning that they're finding sporadically shortages of diesel fuel. Now, diesel fuel is more expensive than regular gasoline by about $1.50 a gallon. And it's costing these guys and gals $1,800 to $2,000 to fill up their 18-wheeler rigs. A lot of these trucks are independently operated. A lot of them are operated under small businesses. Maybe a guy's got 10 trucks or 5 trucks and so forth. But whatever the reason, this is a huge problem. Now, if we have shortages of diesel fuel, that will immediately impact each and every one of us. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how poor you are. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what genitalia you have or you think you have. The fact of the matter is it's going to be a major impact. And it's coming. Just as when fertilizer is not only expensive, but the farmers have told us, and their associations have told us, that there's shortages of fertilizer, then the impact is enormous. And we've planted 20% less wheat and corn this summer already than last year. 20% less. So you know what that means. And this government can't manage it because this government can't even acknowledge what's going on. So rather than have sort of a Manhattan Project for the private sector, sort of a reverse Manhattan Project to go through all these government agencies and figure out what regulations you can lift, how you can facilitate efficiencies, how you can embrace the private sector, promote it, propel it, the opposite takes place. You got to have seminars on pronouns. You're going to have seminars on critical race theory. You're going to be accused of profiteering. They're going to whack your business right where it hurts because they may not like the way you conduct your business. They have an ideological model that's called the Green New Deal, which is no model at all, quite frankly, since there's nothing on the other side. All these things are still in place. So he can take out 18 cents a gallon on federal taxes for a period of time. He can keep drawing oil out of the strategic oil reserve. He can keep begging foreign countries for oil. That's not only not going to be enough, it's not helpful to the United States economy because they still have their foot on the throat of the golden goose who cannot lay the golden eggs.
Want to see more? Sign up for Levin TV.